Hey team, Mark Zees here, Bible Land Explorer. I trust all is well with you in the place where you are. The place where I am is called Edfu. It's located about halfway between Aswan and Luxor along the bank of the Nile River. And I'm standing here in front of the temple at Edfu, and as you can see, it is absolutely huge, sprawling, and spectacular, perhaps second in size only to the temple in Karnak. And yet the temple at Edfu is unique for at least three reasons, and let me give them to you. First, the temple at Edfu is unique because of how well it's preserved. There are places where the roof is still intact, a roof of stone. And it's just incredible to walk through these enormous columns and stare up into the handiwork of the ancients. And you can do that here because this place was so well preserved. What happened at the turn of the millennium when Christianity came into play is that they banned the worship of the cult, and the place was abandoned, was filled with sand and dust. So it's well preserved. A second reason why this site is amazing is because of the fact that this particular site is old-fashioned. And when I say old-fashioned, I mean this. It's built in the style of Old Egypt. We see things like this elsewhere, and yet it's not from the time of Old Egypt. It was actually constructed, at least initially, in the reign of one Ptolemy III in the decade of the 230s BC, 1,000 years later than the Bronze Age. And yet it purposefully imitates the style of the ancients. And what the descendants of Alexander the Great are doing is they're pushing themselves off on the Egyptians as native pharaohs or as local pharaohs. And so we see, for example, right here on the wall, this guy cracking, his enemies on the head. Looks like Ramses the Great, but nope, it's Ptolemy the 12th. Yeah. And so it's an old-fashioned style, but it's actually quite new. It wasn't even finished until the Roman period. So it's a well-preserved temple. It's an old-fashioned style temple. And the third reason why I call it unique is because it gives us an interesting blend of perspective. Why? Well, as you look here and there, you see many statues, you see many depictions of Horus, the falcon-headed god. Of course, Horus has been talked about here in Egypt for thousands of years already by the Roman period. But by the Roman period, a new character is also being pulled into the game, Apollo. And as we think about how this place actually appears in the literature of the time, we can say that this city where this temple is located carries the name Apollo. It is Apollinopolis Magna, or the Big Apollo City. And so you can see a blend as you look at the art and as you consider the symbols here on the wall. There's just these subtle touches of Hellenistic or Greek veneer that are put down over the top of the older Egyptian motifs. And so it's a careful blend. It's a temple that in so many ways is old-fashioned, yet is not. And it's a temple that's very well preserved. And for these reasons, the temple at Edfu is worth visiting and is a special place.